Okay, hi guys, welcome back to another video, welcome back to another review, and welcome back to me reshooting the Dunu Titan S review. This has been an awesome month of budget earphones, and the Dunu Titan S is probably the best one that I found under $100 this month. If you go back and look at the channel, previous videos, earphones under $100, I'll add a playlist at the end of this one. But we're really getting to a point where it's getting so competitive and the companies themselves are actually listening to us that we have so many good earphones coming out, and it's super competitive. So this one, Dunu Titan S, is probably the cream of the crop on it. This is me reshooting it about 5 minutes after I just shot it because it wasn't recording. So I'm going to have to remember everything I said and try and articulate it as beautifully as I've just done before. I'm sure I will be able to do that. So let's get into the packaging. The packaging, they're going for this Dunu Titan S. They've got this sort of steampunk, dystopian future vibe that they're going for. And on the side you see Titan Reborn. Now a few years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, they had the Titan 1, Titan 3 and Titan 5, I believe, and that was the large dynamic driver, neutrally sounding earphones. And they kind of, the shape that they brought it out in, I know Fio tried to copy and release that same thing, or maybe OEM'd it. It just wasn't popular at a time where other earphones were producing these in-ear monitor style earphones. So now they're back to revive the line, but consider this as a complete revamping of the internals and the exterior. It's nothing like the old ones, and let's get into this review just now. So we have the packaging. It looks dope, really like it. The box is standard Dunu style. When you pop it open, you would be faced with this beautiful carry case. I mean, this is probably the nicest carry case that I've seen under $100. It's got the Dunu branding on it there. It's a very vibrant blue. There's adequate space on the inside for your earphones and a little pouch at the side there that you can throw in some extra ear tips. Speaking of ear tips, you get typical Dunu going overkill on the quality of the ear tips. Excellent quality ear tips, 3 different varieties, different sizes, so anybody is going to find a good fit and finish on this one. You're going to get a good seal straight out of the box with no need to go and buy some extra ear tips. So I'll package this one back off and let's talk about what is missing. So coming in under $100, you're going to make some sort of compromise. And when we're talking about the compromise on this one, it's going to be in the cable to Dunu's more expensive earphones. Dunu's more expensive earphones are now coming with the adaptable plug system where you can change it from 3.5mm standard headphone jack to using a 4.4mm or 2.5mm balance connector, as you see here on the Shanling DAP. That allows you to draw more power from the DAP and power the earphones adequately. The good news is that the earphones here, the Titan S, are not particularly power hungry, so there's no real need to go for balance for it if you don't need to. However, the cable that they have included is just the standard 3.5mm cable. That said, the cable is a beauty. It's lightweight, it's small, it's slim, but it is just so nice. It's a four wire twist into a 2-wire after the splitter into each channel. Usually that is quite resistive and retains some memory, but this doesn't retain any memory. It's super soft to the touch. It's got the little cable wrap. It's got a metal jack point. It's got a metal splitter. It's got a little plastic cable cinch on it. It is a good quality cable, a very good quality cable when you consider under $100. Let's just do the wrap test. We'll wrap it up and see how it performs when I put it down. Absolutely perfect. It doesn't bounce and spring away like the trash that Campfire Audio has sold for years for hundreds of dollars. This is a sub $100 earphone with a cable that beats out $100 earphone cables. Now, the only sort of anomaly, like little difference here from another earphone would be that the guard system here on the 2-pin connector it's molded specifically to fit the shape of the earphones themselves. Now if I grab this nice hick 2-pin adapter, you'll see that you can still get the benefit of using the recessed 2-pin connector. And I'm going to pull this one off here. You can see there's a recessed 2-pin connector there. If I plug that in, it will fit in perfectly, so you can use an aftermarket cable, no problem, but you won't have that continuance of the lines of the earphone. Purely aesthetic, not functional, but something to think about. Now, let me take the earphones off themselves. Earphones themselves are just really, really cool looking. I hope it shows up on camera. I really like the finish on it. I like the colour of it. I like this sort of steampunky looking vibe that they've got going on. It is very similar to, for example, the Campfire Audio Holocene. This is, if I grab the same directional earphone, that is a very similar shape. But Dunu have managed to put their own spin on it, and it actually works very, very well ergonomically. This manages to catch your tragus and detragus area, and it just seems to slot nicely into my medium-sized ears. I would say if you are a small-eared person, go with something else, but medium ears, large ears should have no problem getting a good fit in this. It's also got a medium depth insertion, so it's good at isolating with the metal body. It's easy to get a good fit on it. I really, really, really like this. 2-pin recess connection, again, adds a little bit of protection for water ingress. And that metal body. It's just overall, the one thing that I can say about this earphone, from the sound to the build quality to everything, is that it just makes me think, how am I going to pay like so little for this? Like, I believe it's priced about $80. If it's under $80, that's incredibly impressive. If it's under $100, it's incredibly impressive, because this feels like just a more premium earphone. I would say it's in that area with something like a Shure Tape. It's a more premium feeling Shure Tape. It's incredibly impressive what they've managed to put together at this price point, and it feels good, and it looks really, really good, and it sounds really, really good. So with that, let's get into the actual sound. Now, most of you would be thinking the steampunk sort of theme, the modern sort of theme on it. You're going to be thinking this is tuned maybe towards bass heavy music. Well, it is a dynamic driver on the inside, but it is tuned very neutral. And I think if you're running with the idea of the original Titan earphones, they were on the neutral side of things. And I think people are finally starting to appreciate neutral sounding earphones. That neutrality allows you with a lot of versatility. So if you're somebody like me who listens to a lot of different genres of music, and I'm not somebody, you get these people that say, I listen to a wide variety of music, but they predominantly listen to 90% EDM or hip hop or something like that. And there's no problem with that. But don't sort of pretend that you listen to a wide variety of music and then go and buy a set of earphones that are not specifically. If you listen, really think about your library and think about the way you listen to music. And if you listen to 80-90% and buy EDM, for example, buy something that's good at EDM. This is one for somebody that will listen to almost anything. For me, my predominant listening genres, I would say, is orchestral, EDM, folk. So that's three completely different tunings of earphones that I would have. And if I was choosing just one earphone, I would choose something like this. When I say it's a neutral sounding earphone, that doesn't mean it is bass light. It just means it's bass neutral. It means it's somewhere in between the distinguishment of bass light and bass heavy. It sits there in the mid-range. Think about what somebody's saying. When somebody says something is neutral sounding, that doesn't mean it's bass light. Yes, it might be bass light in comparison to a bass heavy earphone, but there are some earphone tunings, like something like the Campfire Audio IO, for example, which is definitely bass light and terrible. Let's go to my listening notes. It's muted tuning with a muted bass response, but it displays good detail and layering within the mid bass. So I think that's something important that I've talked about before in the past, is when you get bass, you get two different types of bass. You get sub bass response and like that slam, that ethereal slam and rumble. That's not going to give you the most here. It does a decent job. It gives you some punch, but not that deep rumble. But where it does shine a little bit more is in the mid bass response. The mid bass response is somewhere where you can usually see detail and texture. Earphones that do not concentrate on the mid bass response and do not do a good job of representing the mid bass response leaves people missing out. And I've talked about this before. Bass is not just all impact. If you think about what's going on when you're listening to the resonance from a double bass, for example, a double bass is a very textured, nuanced and layered sounding bass that can vary in the both the volume and the vibrance of that bass. And you want to hear all of that because it adds a richness to your overall listening experience. With the transition going from the mid bass into the lower mids, it's fantastic. There's absolutely no discernible overlap. It's just super smooth. There's no jarring experience where sometimes with multi-driver earphones you can have an experience of you can detect where the driver's handing over the frequency, but with this it's just super smooth, and it goes into the mid-range, which again is well balanced. It's not trying to dominate any area and it doesn't sit too far back. I would say that the male vocals are probably the highlight of the show here, along with stringed instruments, acoustic stringed instruments, weighting of piano keys. That there's enough weight and just the slightest piece of warmth in there that just adds that intimacy. Female vocals are pushed up in a little bit on the drier side. Maybe not the same way that the aria is, but it's definitely pushed north of intimate and warm with female vocals and higher sort of stringed instruments like violin, like higher octaves in a violin. The mids are detailed as well. It's as I say, natural. It's open spacing, and with that detail creates a lot of clarity, open soundingness in terms of imaging. It's very easy to place specific instruments, even in complex passages. Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture, which is very instrument heavy. It's still easy to place that. Soundstage as well is also above average, which I really liked. The best thing I can say about it is that it is an amazing all-rounder for the money. It is versatile. It feels, it looks, from everything, the total package, when you take into account the case, the build quality of it, the sound, it just makes me feel like I've got a more premium product than I've paid for. It feels more value for money than other stuff that I'm thinking of. Even something like the Aria, which I rate quite highly. This just feels like a different class above, like a significant class above the Aria. It definitely feels above something like the Audio Legacy 2s, Legacy 3s, in terms of the overall presentation of the package. The sound will be beaten out, obviously, when you go up into the region of Shure tapes and Tin Hi-Fi P1s. But for the price that this is probably the best value for money earphone that I've seen all year. And I know we're only in February and I'll be doing comparisons throughout the year, but sub $100 is starting to get crazy interesting. And yeah, I like that somebody's gone ahead and they've tuned a neutral sounding earphone instead of focusing on that V-shaped or that Harman curve, not Harman curve, these elevated bass curves and stuff. This is this is an interesting little earphone and one that I can definitely recommend. So I've rambled on yet again, far too long. That's it for this review, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I always appreciate you guys watching this. I love reading your comments down below. So if you've got something to add, drop something in the comments down below, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks again.